Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Black Spinner Music Podcast. And tonight's segment, we got a pretty cool segment we're gonna try out this year, and we're gonna try to do this at the end of every month. It's called Check It Out, where we're gonna talk about albums that were released this past month. So with me today is Al Horta from the Be Cool or Be Podcast Out. How's
Hey
it
Andy,
going,
how are
Al?
you, man? How's it going? How's it going, Andy?
It's going good, man. I was very excited to go through these new albums. It's really cool to listen to new music. Sometimes we get kind of stuck in listening to the same old, or sticking to the same era. So this
Yeah,
is pretty cool, kind of stretch out.
yeah, no, that's cool, man. I'm glad you invited me on here. I pulled up some stuff that was released, up until today, and it was just some couple of cool releases, man, that I didn't even really know about. So it's kind of cool, like you're doing this it'll kind of keep me up on some newer stuff. So
Yeah, I kind of surprised myself on a couple of stuff that I found, and a couple of stuff um, outside my regular comfort zone as when it comes to genre. Because ever since we started doing this podcasting stuff, I really stretched out my taste in music. It's different things that people post on Black Spinner Circle, different albums and different artists I've never heard of. So I go back and I hear them. I was like, man, I can't believe I missed out on this, but it's good to know that I'm able to go back to it. And you have taught me a lot as well about production and to look for different people on different albums and stuff like that. So I thank you for that as well.
oh, no problem, man. Appreciate it.
So, did you go see any shows this past week?
No
No.
shows. It's been a little bit of kind of just nothing really that I've gone to see. But next week I'll have two shows in a row. It'll be on Tuesday. It'll be Anthrax and Black Label Society and Exodus on Tuesday, and then the following night I'm gonna go see Alter Bridge and Wolfgang Van Halen.
Oh, okay. Those are some pretty good shows that are coming up.
So yeah, so Wednesday night, if you're gonna have a podcast, I probably won't be able to be on it. So so it's Tuesday and Wednesday next week.
Oh, well, next week I do have a podcast, but I've got a special guest on, and it's just going to be a one-on-one interview.
Oh,
with
it's with
him.
that. Is it with that country artist or
Yeah.
whatever?
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
That's going to be next Wednesday, so that's a good time, Al.
Yeah, good. Good timing.
So we're going to start off with you, and we'll go back and forth. So
Okay.
without further ado, let's get started. These are the handful of albums that we found that were released this past month of January of 2023. There's going to be more releases coming up Friday. The big one is going to be Uriah Heep is coming out with a new album.
Yeah, so that's coming out Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another one of we'll get to that later. But the Zombies are going to be releasing a new album and touring in 2023.
Oh,
They're
wow.
coming here in March.
Oh, wow, cool.
The Zombies, and they're going to be releasing a new album in February, which is very odd because I don't think they released anything since like '69. So
Wow.
We'll see what comes up, what comes
I think
out of that.
I think they've toured though, right? Here and there.
Yeah, they've toured here and there, but not to support an album. It's been a while since they've come out to support new music.
Really? They haven't had an album since 1969?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Or if they did, it wasn't a hit maker or anything that really where they're advertising already. This is coming out, this is coming out, this is coming out.
Gotcha.
So that's gonna be exciting. So, what's your first album that you explored for the month?
Well, the first one I kind of heard the first single at the beginning, or like actually late last year, was Iggy Pop with Every Loser. Admittedly, I don't have a lot of Iggy Pop. I don't really know a lot of. I have a couple of the band that he was in originally. What's that?
The Stooges.
The Stooges, yeah. I have a couple of those classic albums, but as far as like solo career, I never really kept up with him. But I pulled this album up, and it's really good. Like punkish, like raw, energetic, rock, man. And he's got like a lot of guest stars in it too. He's got like Dave Navarro and Eric Avery and Chris Chaney from Jane's Addiction with and Pearl Jam. Stone Gossard's on there. Even Taylor Hawkins is on there. Travis Barker from Blink-182. Andrew Watt. It was produced by him, who did the last two Ozzy albums. And for those who forgot about Andrew Watt, he was in a band called California Breed for like one album with Glenn Hughes. And I actually got to see like their very only tour, like short tour. And I think I saw them in New Jersey, and they were opening up for somebody, and I can't remember who they were opening up for, but I did see a show in New Jersey. It was the only couple of shows that they did. But so Andrew Watt produced it. Duff McKagan's on there, Chad Smith of the Chili Peppers. So he's got a whole slew of guest, musicians on there. And it was actually pretty good, man. It was like Clave, it was pretty catchy and very punkish and stuff. So I mean, I didn't live with it that long, but I only heard really the first single, Frenzy, and then I kind of went through the album, and I only gave it like a cursory listen. But it was actually pretty good, man. I thought it was pretty solid from Iggy Pop. This late in his career, he's putting out like some good stuff. So, probably because Andrew Watt helped him write the album, and he's got all these people on there helping him write. So, you got Stone Gossard from Pearl Jam on there on one song, and it goes on and on. So, I thought it was good, man. It was it's only a 37-minute album, so it's short and sweet. No fat on it. So it's got 11 songs. So like the songs are actually pretty short. I think the longest song's maybe over 5 minutes, but that's probably the only song. It's like runs between like 3-4 minutes, the songs, even 2 minutes. Yeah. So yeah, good like punk rock, hard rock, so Iggy Pop, man. I thought Every Loser was a good album. It was a contention on a good list to be on mine. So
yeah, I put that one on my list too. I thought it was pretty interesting how these are some of the same players that were on the Ozzy albums,
Yeah,
and how these players are adapting to the strengths of the icons that they're playing for.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I really did admire the way that their playing is, and I just think that Andrew Watt and these players are bringing out the best of these guys. Iggy Pop and Ozzy. So I really enjoyed that album. You're right; it's only 32 minutes long.
Yeah,
and it's a really good ride.
Hey Andy, before we go any further, I think I'm hearing that popping again, so I'm going to come out and come back in.
All right.
Because it always seems to be like it's from my end, so I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, sure. So while we are waiting for Al, like we were talking about, the new Iggy Pop is a fantastic album. And if you're not familiar with Iggy Pop started in 1969, coming out of Detroit, Michigan. Hello to Kate Doré out there in Detroit. And they helped move that movement that was coming out with the MC5. So Iggy Pop made about maybe 3 or 4 albums with the Stooges. And when this came, and he went solo for a while. I was just talking while you were gone about Iggy Pop's career. He went solo for a while, but it wasn't the same raw feeling that you got from the Stooges, because I do have a couple of Stooges as well. But I really liked this album. It was a really good welcome back.
Yeah, I agree, man. I don't have a lot of Iggy Pop, but I think I'm kind of going to make me want to maybe go back and maybe check out his catalog besides the Stooges. I know some songs throughout the years of him. I know he collaborated with Bowie and all this stuff throughout the years. I think even didn't he even collaborate with Lou Reed or something, or had anything to do with him? I don't know. Maybe I got to read up more on him, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised on the sound, but having a lot of the heavy hitter players on here too, probably helps, you know. I mean, and the whole Andrew Watt, you know, connection. That's probably why Ozzy had a lot of, you know, different players on his last two albums as well. So
Yeah.
seems to be like the trend for these older artists now, just to kind of collaborate with a bunch of different people, you know.
Yeah,
So
because if the old bandmates don't want to do it anymore,
yeah,
well, what's to stop these guys from having other people play for them?
I think
Yeah.
most of the Stooges are like dead too now. I think, right?
I'm not too sure. I really don't
I
know
know the guitar
their
player is
state.
gone. I
Yeah,
know. I know they reunited like, you know, 15, 20 years ago. I think they were doing shows and stuff. I remember them touring, and then I think like the guitar player died, and I think two people died from the Stooges, and that was kind of it for them. So, I mean,
well,
Iggy's like pretty much the last guy standing.
right.
You
Well,
know?
2014, I saw the Stooges,
Oh, okay.
but I'm pretty sure it was just Iggy and some other guys called Stooges. But dude, I tell you what, dude, they tore up that stage. It was
Oh,
a
I'm sure.
festival here, and the dude still had no shirt on, fucking standing on people's heads,
Yeah.
just commanding the crowd. My wife goes, man, he looks so old. Put on a shirt. I said, no, man, that's Iggy Pop. He can't put no shirt on. He can't,
That's
you know.
that's that's his trademark. You
Yeah,
know?
with all the knife marks and who knows what else, man. But yeah, that was a really good album, and I'm gonna seek it out and have a hard copy. One of the bands that popped out to me most of the time when I do these, um, I look at the names of the bands that kind of pop out to me, and if they look interesting or the album cover, I'll pop it up and see what they sound like. So a couple of these um, albums I was very surprised by. This band called Screamer from Sweden, they had an album called Kingmaker that just came out. And it's melodic metal. It's classic metal from the 80s.
What's her name?
They're called Screamer.
Screamer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is like their fourth album. This is like their breakthrough. And they've also got a live album as well. So they're called Screamer. The name of the album is Kingmaker. I was going to send you a link to it today, but I got so busy at work. Um, this is their breakthrough album. And like I said, this is their fourth. They've got one live album out. But I've never heard of them before, but I liked their album cover and the name of the band, so I checked it out. And I've streamed this album about 3 times this week, and I tell you, it's got some pretty good riffs. But what I like the most is that they do have some guitar solos on these songs. It's not just the guitar riff over and over, and where we rock and roll, hard rock, and metal lovers expect a guitar solo, they actually have a guitar solo on there. So that's what
Gotcha.
really drew me to them. So the name of the band is Screamer. They're Swedish, and the name of the album is called Kingmaker.
I gotta check that out, man.
Yeah. Oh, what's your next one now?
All right, so I've been hearing a lot of this band through like word of mouth, and even like on like through social media and you know various outlets and stuff. An Italian band called Maneskin.
Yeah.
And there's a new album they have out called Rush. And it came out on January 20th. So I pulled that up, and I have a friend of mine on social media, and he's been like raving about this band. So pulled it up, and it's some, you know, it's not bad pop rock, but I don't know, it didn't really grab me as I listened to it. Like some of it's like catchy and stuff, but I think I need to live with it a little longer. It wasn't like immediate with me. But I've been hearing good things about this band, so I'm gonna give them some more chances and some more listens. Maybe check out some of their past stuff too. But yeah, they're gaining, like they seem to be gaining some ground here in the States. You know, I think they were on the Global Citizen Festival here in New York City this past year. Metallica headlined that one, and various pop artists were on there too. I've gone to a couple of those Global Citizen festivals, and not everybody's my cup of tea, but they try to bring in a whole bunch of different genres into one thing. It's really for like charity and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So so I checked them out, but I need to check them out a little more. I mean, it's pretty long album, almost like an hour long, with like
Oh,
some
wow.
bonus tracks on it, I think, or something like that. I pulled it up on YouTube Music, which is usually that's my main source when I stream music. I just really kind of go through YouTube. You can find full albums all on there and stuff. I don't never really use Spotify. I use Pandora once in a while, but that's just kind of if I'm like barbecuing outside and I just want to throw a mix on,
Yeah.
I'll just throw that on or whatever. But as far as like, checking out new music and stuff, I'll just go on YouTube and search it out and usually find pretty much anything on there, anything and everything. So I pulled this album up and again, I only gave it like one cursory listen and I need to live with it a little more, I think. So, but like I said, I had to pull it up because I've been hearing a lot about this band. I think they were even on a talk show or something not too long ago. So I think they're Italian American. I think there's like a mix in there or something like that. So, but yeah, Maneskin, Maneskin. So that's
Yeah,
my second pick here.
they play them a lot on Alt Nation
Okay.
on XM, and they've been on Saturday Night Live already.
Okay, that's the show I think I heard them that they were going to be on.
Yeah, and
So
they
they seem
came
to be
here in December, and my wife wanted to go see them, but something happened where we went where we weren't able to go, and for me, I just don't know what to make out of it. They got the glitter makeup and the punk hair, but it's like I'm kind of having a problem with matching their look with the music that they're bringing out.
okay.
If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah,
And
yeah,
maybe I'm just expecting something different. I just need to listen and enjoy what I'm hearing instead of trying to figure out what they are. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I got you.
Yeah. So
So
they're
yeah, so the name of the album is Rush, with
Mhm.
a exclamation point at the end of it. So Maneskin came out, January. So which
Yeah,
is
they
what we're in. All these albums came out in
yeah.
January. So
But I really my wife really digs them, and the songs that I hear on Alt Nation, it, it, it's like industrial pop, if that makes sense, kind of
yeah,
sound.
it's sort of, yeah.
And I'm trying to make it out. My wife said, just enjoy it, just listen to it. And I'm trying to, what we always do, we're trying to figure out an answer for this stuff. But my
Yeah.
next one that I came up with that I found is called Ghost Woman. The
Ghost
name of the
Woman.
band is Ghost Woman. The name of the album is called Anne, like a woman's name, Anne, Anne, comma F. And dude, when I heard them, they sounded like they would be. The way that I'm trying to describe it is trying to see what kind of radio station they'd be played on. They would be played on Little Stevie's Underground Garage.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
if you're familiar with the Flesh Tones, they kind of had that kind of sound,
Okay.
like the Flesh Tones, but they change around a lot, and they're a Canadian. And when I looked them up, they were described as jangly pop,
Okay.
with jangly pop and garage rock and psych rock. Because there are a lot of different um, choices of rock on this one album, but it's pretty interesting. And the vocals are very good, and the guitars are, just like what you would hear in the underground garage, like like the next biggest song in the world, if you know their segment that they have on there. So that's called Ghost Woman with
Okay.
NF is the name of the album, and I liked it.
I gotta check
What's
it
your
out.
next one?
I gotta check it out. I wrote it down. So
Yeah.
all right. So my next one's gonna be legendary death metal band Obituary. They're out of Tampa, Florida, which is like pretty much the birthplace of death metal. Now,
Oh, really?
admittedly, I'm not a huge death metal guy. I do like some in in small doses. I'm more of a melodic. I like melodic vocals, but I can sometimes get into the extreme vocals um, for just to mix it up a little bit. And Obituary has been around for a long time. It's been around since 1984. So I pulled this album up, and they're just as classic and just as crushing as they ever been. Um, and the vocals they are you can still understand, like they're growling, but they have the gruff to them, but you can still understand the vocals, which is not they're not so extreme like some of these other bands, like newer bands where you can't
Mhm.
really like understand anything at all. That stuff I can't really. I just doesn't get. I don't can't get into it. As long as I can kind of understand the vocals, but the music, man, is just killer. I mean, just so high energy and riffs have galore. Um, to expect from Obituary. So they're a classic band. They're like one of the four fathers of death metal, man. They helped create the scene down in Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
Again, that's like the birthplace of death metal with them and like Possessed and bands like that. So um, the album is called Dying of Everything, and it came out obviously this past month. And it's about 45 minutes long. And again, not too long. So just perfect length for an album. And death metal, I mean, you're not going to, you really, once you get over that 45-minute mark, you kind of want to, you're not going to last too much longer. I mean, for somebody that doesn't listen to it a whole lot, but I do like throwing that stuff on once in a while, like to get the juices flowing. I mean, I enjoy everything, man. So I enjoy a little bit of death metal. I enjoy even some black metal once in a while. Um, so Obituary, man. If I'm sure a lot of people who are into death metal know who they are. So yeah, check them out, man. If you want to hear like some brutal stuff, so man, it's pretty heavy, man.
Yeah.
So
I was pleasantly surprised that I loved this album because I'm not a big death metal guy. I'm like you. I got to hear lyrics, but I was able to decipher the lyrics on this
oh
album,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they
man,
really had some really good lead guitar. It wasn't just.
yeah,
I mean, they broke through with a very melodic sound. I
yeah.
was like, dude, I really like this because I've heard about Obituary throughout the years.
They're
I just thought
classic,
they were
man.
just too much for me, you know.
Yeah.
But this album, I don't know if I'm taking the kind of path that Jerry Soupy is right now because Jerry's starting to listen to heavier and heavier music.
Yeah.
And I really like this album. This was an album I was going to talk about later, but I'll talk about it now. I really liked it. And I was very surprised by the sound of it.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't know that they were one of the godfathers of death metal. I didn't
Oh
know
yeah,
they
man.
were from Tampa, and I didn't know that Tampa was the birth of death metal. So that's a lot of stuff that I did not know. So that's great.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Look up the death metal scene in Tampa was really kind of where it really all like kind of started, man.
Oh wow.
Really was a fruitful, almost like Seattle was for grunge
Hmm.
and things like Los Angeles was for glam. Tampa was the death metal capital, man.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that a lot of bands came out of Tampa, death metal from the death metal scene. So
Yeah.
um
You see, and I wondered why when you hear about these death metal bands and that they originated from like Florida or like one of the Carolinas, you're like, wow, really? You don't expect that. But now
yeah,
that I know the
like
birthplace being
a
from there.
sunny state, like
Right?
you would expect that you expect death metal to come out. Well, black metal really kind of originated in like Norway and
Right.
but those winters are brutal there, so you could kind of see where kind of that genre really would come from a place like that because it could be depressing for like a lot of months out of the year,
Yeah.
cold and like no, everything is dead and all that stuff. So but like Tampa, Florida, it's sunny there and it's like, and you wouldn't think of like a death metal scene rising up out of there. But I mean, it was great bands. I mean, Death, the band Death
Yeah.
was from there. Morbid Angel,
Oh wow. Okay.
Oh god, like Nasty Savage was another one. I mean, like these are bands that like really kind of were burgeoning in that scene, man. Like, Death is legendary. Chuck Schuldiner came out of that band and he passed away years ago from cancer. I believe it was cancer.
Right
And
now, this
he
I
was,
am familiar with, but not
yeah,
the music, just the name.
yeah, he was he's really kind of the godfather of like death metal, one of the godfathers anyway. Um, so yeah, man, I mean, Obituary is another just classic band. So yeah, I mean, I really I want to listen to this album more and more. I really got into
Yeah.
it. It wasn't bad at all. Like it was really for them to come out with a great album like this late in the career is really really good, man. It's really 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 promising. So
And
so yeah,
now,
Obituary, Dying of Everything is one of my picks. I could see it was one of your picks as well.
yeah,
So
I think I'm gonna actually try and find it, and not just that. Kind of delve into a little bit more of their stuff because I was very impressed. It's like with Slayer. I didn't get into Slayer until later because I
yeah,
thought, oh, it's going to be too much for me. But then after I actually heard, I was like, you know what? This is it's not. It's good. It's good
yeah,
stuff. You know.
yes.
Um. Speaking of bands that have been around for a long time, this band has been around since 1983 as well. I don't know. This might be their 1000th album. Of course, but Guided by Voices with La La Land. Um,
Oh, Guided by Voices. Okay.
yeah, Guided by Voices. Those guys. Well, of course the leader is the only real member. Everything else he just brings in. But for real, this has to be like the 30th or 40th release. It still has that. They still have that same pop punk rock element, a la Green Day, Blink 182, but not as poppy as their sound came out to be. So
Yeah.
Guided by Voices is one of my pick. So that's one of my picks. I don't have that much to say because if people know who Guided by Voices is, you know,
I gotta admit, like I know the name, but I kind of never listen to them, so I don't really know how they sound.
yeah,
I guess what are they, alternative or
they're like alternative pop punk.
okay,
It's like maybe early Green Day
okay,
is what I would say it is. Maybe a little bit of Mudhoney thrown in there if I
okay,
needed to put another band out there. Um, but Guided by Voices, and you know their stuff is kind of repetitive. Once you've heard a couple of their albums, they really don't stray that far from their bread and butter. But I thought I would put them in there because again, I enjoyed this album because I enjoy some of their music. I don't own anything by them. It's just the comfort level of hearing their music. You're like, oh, I kind of heard this album before, even though you just heard it now. But Guided by Voices, and I'm like you. I've seen their names over and over for years, but never really sat down to really hear them. They've always been a background music for me. So,
gotcha.
so that's one of the albums that I picked.
All right, well, I got two more albums, and
All right.
now this is really getting these two albums. These two next albums are really in my wheelhouse. This is the genre that I really really love: progressive rock and progressive metal.
Oh,
Um, and this next band is called Riverside. They're a Polish progressive band, uh, and the name of the album is Identity, but it's ID dot entity. So they kind of split the name of ID entity. So it's Identity is the name of the album. Riverside, and holy shit, man, dude, I pulled this album up and I'm like, how did I miss these guys all these years? Because they've been around. They formed in 2001, so they have quite a few albums out. Let's see. I think they have like eight. Let's see. One, two, three, four, five, six. This is their eighth album,
wow.
and they're on a label called Inside Out, which caters a lot to prog metal and prog rock. And damn, man, I was like, I've been missing out on this band, so I'm really gonna delve into their catalog. They get ambient, they get they're progressive, they get ambient, they get experimental. It's almost like kind of, if you mix like, Peter Gabriel and Tangerine Dream and like Radiohead with like Marillion, Pink Floyd, and Rush, things like that.
Wow.
And almost they have a similar sound to like Porcupine Tree, which I love. I love that band a lot. And even Dream Theater. There's elements of like the Dream Theater sound in there. And I was like, wow, dude. I mean, I was like, and this album like is killer, man. And I'm really good. If you like prog rock, you really owe it to yourself to check this band out. I mean, these guys are. I was listening to the album like 3 or 4 times in a row like the last 2 days, man. Like in my work truck, I pulled it up, streamed it, man. I'd listened to it like over again, and it was like, wow, man. It's like I discovered. It's like I don't know how these guys flew under my radar because I'm usually kind of on top of this genre. So I'm really like gushing about these guys. Riverside, man, check them out. You won't be disappointed.
I'm surprised that they went on this long without you discovering them. If they're already on their 8th album, they've been out since 2001.
I know. I think I vaguely heard the name mentioned, but like there's so many bands, man. It's like
so much music to go through.
There's so much music, but I'm kind of glad like you're doing like this new music thing. So now it's gonna make me kind of want to check bands out, releases, bands that are like. In my wheelhouse, but even bands that aren't in my wheelhouse, I'm gonna check stuff out. But I mean that's what you're here for too. And as the months go on, you'll probably have more guests. And when everybody throws the collective bands into a pool, it's cool. That's how you discover music. It's like way back in the day when you used to go to a friend's house and they're like, "Hey, check this album out." Put it on a turntable or put the CD in the CD player, and then you would discover music that way before the internet and all that stuff. Yeah, Riverside, man, check them out. The album's called Identity.
So. Yeah, I will check them out. That's awesome. And I'm writing all this down. I really, like you said, this is really. I wasn't too sure how the segment was gonna go because there's only been 1 month of music, but dude, we're pulling out a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
And my next one is a group called The Bad Ends. The Bad Ends. Like the word bad and ends.
Yeah, Bad Ends. Okay.
Yeah, the name of the album is The Power and the Glory. And when I heard it, I was like, man, this sounds like some classic REM. REM from 85 to 91. And the reason for that, Bill Berry's the drummer.
Really?
And they are out of Athens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Bill Berry's back to making like music again?
Yeah. He I was reading where he hooked up with this other legendary Athens a singer from another band that came out at the same time, but didn't hit it as big as REM or what's the other one that came out of Athens or the
B-52s?
Yeah. This band kind of stayed in the background. So I was reading where they hooked up a few years ago, and that it brought Bill Berry out of retirement to do this project or to join this band.
I love Bill Berry's drumming, man. I think he's a very underrated drummer. I love those early classic REM albums. I thought I discovered REM actually from a friend of my brother's. Actually made a compilation tape for my brother one time, and it had a lot of the back then it wasn't called alternative rock, it was called modern rock or whatever,
or college rock
or college rock. Yeah. So it had like U2 on there and REM and the Fix and I think like the Church or something like that. Bands like that. and I kind of discovered a lot of that modern rock. But REM kind of grabbed me. I mean, and I remember seeing like their videos on MTV, you know. And then when Document came out, it's like when they really grabbed me with The One I Love and all that. So I went out and I bought that album. And then I had a couple of friends of mine in high school that were huge like REM fans, and they got me into them. And I really enjoyed them. I love that early REM jangly stuff, man. I thought they were really they pushed the envelope, man. They really, you know, in an era of the 80s when it was like everything was synthesizers and all that stuff, these guys were like really just guitar, bass, drums, you know, vocals. And it was like minimalist, but it wasn't. It was like, you know, I don't know how to explain it, man. I just had that jangly pop, but like, I mean, fucking Mike Mills was like fucking killer bass player, and I mean,
great
when you really
vocals in the background, man.
yeah,
It really was. He really added to the tone of
exactly.
Michael Stipe.
So the Bad Ends. So now,
The
like, this
Bad
is a
Ends.
band with Bill Berry. I gotta check them
Yeah,
out, man. So
yeah.
if it has that, if it has that classic REM sound, then I'm interested.
Yeah. That's the first thing that came to mind was REM. It just sticks out like a sore thumb. That older sound before they got into Monster, and
Yeah,
then to Automatic for the People, and which is good, but it kind of, you see, because I got into REM being in junior high and seeing the older kids wear these REM t-shirts. I was wondering who are you see, because in my family I was the oldest, and my sister closest to me was 8 years younger. So when it came to music, I was kind of on my own. I didn't
yeah.
have an older brother or a sibling around my age that I can bounce things off of. So I had friends for that. But other friends, they tend to listen to different things and stuff like that. So I would go off of people's shirts, the Metallica shirts, and well, these people are popular, and you would I would watch 120 Minutes, which was on MTV,
That was a
and
good show.
which they showed a lot of that alternative stuff. So that's what got me started with REM, and every time we do those years, REM is always an honorable mention. It never cracks the top 10 for me, but it's just an honorable mention. Hold on.
No problem.
These guys. And the reason why they're barking is because my wife's in the garage.
Oh, okay.
So they're like, they didn't see her just walk out into the garage. You know how dogs can be. So
Yeah, I have one. So you want me to go on my last one?
yeah, you're cool.
Okay, so again, we're in the prog rock, prog metal genre, and now this was a band I've heard in the past. I never really went out and bought a lot. I never really bought any of the releases though, but I heard the name and I heard, I may have one of their CDs. I have to look it up. I have to look in my collection. I mean, everything's packed away right now because I moved and all that stuff. So a lot of my stuff is in storage, but I think I have like one or two of their CDs. But it was like one that it is a band I never really spent a lot of time with. When I pulled up this album, I was like, holy shit. It's like another band. They're from Sweden, and they're called Catatonia. And
How do you
the
spell
name
that?
the name of the album is Sky Void of Stars. And holy shit, man! Again, I was like, why am I not? Why do these guys fly under my radar? Again, so it wasn't like Riverside where I didn't really know, never heard the name, but I heard this name. I never gave them a chance. So now that I've heard this album, I was like, wow, this album was really, really killer. They started off more as like a doom metal band, kind of death, doom, but they slowly progressed into more prog metal, kind of like the way Opeth kind of started out as like a death metal band. They slowly progressed. Now they're more prog metal, prog rock, prog metal.
Which I enjoy them more now than I did when they started.
Which I love. Yeah, I love the direction they've gone in. And this band seems to have kind of went the same trajectory. And even Michael Ockerfeldt from Opeth was on an earlier album of Catatonia. It's like doing vocals, growling vocals back when he was doing that style in the 90s. So, but yeah, man, this album, Sky Void of Stars, it's really, really awesome. If you like prog, again, prog metal, Catatonia, man. I mean, like, just classic, man. I mean, just, you know, like if you like Opeth or whatever, and you like that kind of stuff now, I would definitely like check these guys out, man. I can't get enough of this album. This is another album that I streamed like a couple of times. I'm like, yeah, dude, I want to check out their back catalog now, you know, going forward. And I really recommend this album, man. So that's my last one, really. It's on the inside. They're on the oh wait, no, what label are they on here? Oh, they're on Napalm Records.
Napalm.
So yeah, Napalm Records, which is that caters to a lot of this genre too, prog metal and stuff like that. And they're awesome, man. I think shit, man. If you like this genre, man, definitely check them out, man. I mean, they're from Sweden. These guys. You had a Swedish band on earlier. Seems like Sweden is a very fertile place for like bands of a lot of different genres, actually. So check them out, man.
Yeah, I wrote them down. Catatonia, right?
Yeah, it's with a K. With a K.
Okay. All right. I got
K. It's Katatonia. Catatonia. I'll send you a link.
I got the rest of it right, except for the C.
Yeah. So
that would have taken me to who knows where. I've got two more to talk about.
Okay.
They're both totally different.
I do have one more thing to talk about, but it's just a song. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, sure. Of course. One of the bands that I was never familiar with this band, and I still am having a hard time trying to find out more about them. But they're called Howling the Void. Howling the Void.
Howling the Void. Okay.
The name of the album is Into Darkness Evermore, and it kind of sounds like well, first of all, it's an instrumental album.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's an instrumental, and it's like melodic hard rock.
Okay.
Not too many solos, not too many guitar solos, but a lot of riffs and a lot of heavy drums. I think the album has like 5 or 6 songs, but it's like 43 minutes long.
Okay.
Just so that you can grasp how the music goes. Think of like an instrumental, yes, but heavy.
Okay.
And sometimes they kind of lose direction. They kind of, like when I was hearing it, they would kind of lose me a little bit, and then you'd wait for it to come back. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes it would, and sometimes it wouldn't. But maybe you might see them differently. They're called Howling Void.
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
Because you like that stuff a little bit more than I do. But it is an album that I will visit down the road. Maybe not more than the others that I wrote down, but I will. So what's the song you were talking about?
Well, it's Metallica's newest single, "Screaming Suicide." So they dropped this single, I think, like last week, actually. And to me, it wasn't immediate as Lux Eterna was for me. I had to listen to this song a couple more times. James really seems to be. He was talking about like the lyrically. It's everybody contemplates suicide one time or another in their lives, and it's really kind of like just kind of a positive, I guess, song on it. That if you're really thinking about it, like reach out and all that stuff, or things like that. So I mean, again, it wasn't when Lux Eterna came out, man. I actually love that song right off the bat. This one took me a couple more listens. It still hasn't completely grabbed me. So I'm hoping like the album is a little more immediate when it comes out. I think the album comes out in April, so
Mhm.
this is already their second single from it. And but I'm still looking forward to the album. I mean, it sounds promising, from Lux Eterna. I like that song a lot. So, but this is the new one, Screaming Suicide. So I just wanted to touch base and just like mention the song a little bit.
Yeah. It's been the talk around Facebook and around different music circles. These two tracks that have come out by
Yeah,
Metallica. Lux Eterna, you're right, was so good. Was so quick and to the point. The second album, the second song that came out, it's kind of it's okay.
yeah.
I really hope that the
The
songs
album.
get longer.
I hope the album is a bit stronger than the song.
Yeah, yeah. Um, this kind of sounds like they were trying for kind of a radio hit kind of
Yeah,
thing, a
yeah,
quick radio hit, and
yeah.
I'm kind of hoping that the songs stretch out a little bit more because I really do miss their long songs. They're at least not too long, but like give me a good six or
I was a
7 minute Metallica
I,
song.
I was a big fan of Ain't Justice for All when it first came out. Like I
Yeah,
love that album.
yeah, me too.
That's like their prog metal album. That's as progressive as Metallica ever got.
Yeah,
Long songs, a lot of time changes, and yeah, I love that album, man. So
me too.
it's nice if it would be nice if they threw in a song or two in that vein into this album.
Yeah,
They don't have to be all quick thrash metal songs. I mean, you know, I like the prog progressive stuff they did on that album and Justice for All. So
yeah.
yeah, man.
So that's what I'm hoping for. But of course, I like the first one better than the second single.
Yeah.
And
Same here.
what I've
Same here.
yeah, and what I've heard so far with those two songs, and the two songs, I mean, well, not hate. I love comparing the two, Megadeth and the Metallica. I love it. The two first songs that came out by Megadeth kill these two that
Yeah,
came out by Metallica.
I agree.
So let's see if it gets stronger. I hope it does, but because I'm looking forward to another good album because I really did like their last one. Their last one was pretty good.
Yeah.
Not as good as Death Magnetic because I loved Death Magnetic. I really did. Not that many people did. I don't know why, but I'm one
No,
that did.
I do too. The problem I had with that one is a little bit of the production side again. I thought it was mastered way too hot, and but if you seek out the Guitar Hero version on YouTube, it's the mastering is way better. It's a lot more dynamics. Um, I have the vinyl of that album too, and I never even opened it. So I'm wondering if the mastering on the vinyl is better than the CD. It should be.
It is
I don't
because
know
I got
though.
the vinyl.
Yeah, the CD is like. I mean, when you listen to it, it's you hear like it's just distorted, man. Like when you're listening to it, it's like fuck, dude. You know, it's just. But then the last album, the production I liked a lot better. The mastering was much more dynamic, and the album breathed a bit more. Um, I think a lot of bands now, man, are they're kind of getting away from that loudness war stuff, the brick walling. I think
Right.
mastering is becoming better again. I think because I mean a lot of people have. There's been a backlash of that stuff in these last few years, man. Like for people who really are into audiophile and production and sound of albums, it seemed like in the mid 2000s up until like only like a few years ago, man. It's like, yeah, let's make the album as loud as we can, and it fatigues my ears, man. I can't listen to an album all the way through. I have to take breaks, man. That's just the way my ears are like trained, I guess, like for that stuff. Some people it doesn't bother them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody listens to everything on their iPods or earbuds, and you know
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
what I wanted to say. Do you think maybe the production work of the past few years have been trying to cater to streaming?
yeah, that's
How
exactly.
how
But
how the
there's
sound
a
is so
whole
compressed?
yeah, but there's a whole niche more. I've told you before about like I like surround sound music, and I get into collecting the high resolution kind of releases, and you know my stereo setup now is like put away, so I don't really have a nice stereo setup here at my parents' house to listen to anything. There's no surround sound, none of this, so all that stuff's packed away, and I'm like kind of missing it,
Oh yeah, of course I would
But
be. Yeah.
yeah, but there's a whole like um there's a whole culture of people that are really into like, well, I mean, there's always been a culture of people. Audiophiles is what they're called. I mean, I belong to Facebook groups. I belong to message boards that we talk about, like releases that are. Then there's producers on these sites that like talk about production and all that stuff. So
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't know. Ever since I was younger, man, I was always into like good sounding albums. Because my brother had a lot of the, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, things like that. But things that were bands really got into production side, excuse me, of
Mhm.
things. And, and it seems like, when you got into the 90s and all that stuff, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's it. Go ahead.
bands really kind of got away from that. It was more like, let's just crank it up and
They got
raw
cheap.
production. And,
They got
and
cheap.
there's a time and place for that. I mean, I
Yeah.
just albums I like a raw sounding album too. I mean, but I don't know, man. It's just times when I really want to put on a nice Pink Floyd album and immerse myself in like, stuff that like just kind of surrounds me and puts me in another like place.
Yeah.
So but anyway, I went off on a tangent here about
No,
production.
it's not.
But Metallica, man, like it's like sometimes their productions are like hit and miss. Like the going back to Injustice for All. I mean, the production on an album is very much maligned. No bass on it.
Of course.
Uh, the guitars and everything, the drums and guitars. It's almost kind of like claustrophobic in a way. Then the whether you like the Black Album or not, the production on that's pretty amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
everything sat right in the mix and it sounds great and all that stuff. So it's like they'll go from one extreme to another. It seems like, and then like Saint Anger is just completely unlistenable to me.
Oh, it
I
really
can't
is.
that
It's dog shit. Yeah.
I really I've tried once a year. I always try to pop that album in and just see. Well, let me listen to it again, give it a chance, and it's just they were going through a bad time. The songwriting is just not there. The
Yeah.
production was just garbage to me. It's just that's the real blemish on their catalog, in my opinion. You know,
Yeah, but everybody has one. Every band
yeah,
has that one album
yeah.
that you're like, I'll never listen to this one again. You know,
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like
I'll
everybody
skip
always
this
like
one.
shits on the Load albums, but I'd rather listen to those Load albums than Stay in Anger. To be
Yeah,
honest with
yeah,
you.
yeah. Those Note albums might have about 4 songs that are all right, but
Yeah,
but the reason why they're so odd to Metallica fans is because we're used to loving the whole album.
yeah, yeah,
You know, and not just a couple of handful of songs.
yeah,
We heard the whole thing.
yeah.
So so if you can and if you can get that Death Magnetic on vinyl out
I
and
have, I have,
spin it.
I have it on vinyl. I just never popped it open and listened to it. So it's
Yeah,
sealed.
but if it's packed away or whatever,
Yeah, it's packed away. It's still
yeah,
sealed. And I never opened it or anything. But when I get a chance one day,
yeah,
when I'm all settled in, I have a setup again. I'm
yeah,
gonna check it out. So
yeah.
yeah,
Because I use that because I listen to that more than I do the CD.
yeah,
Because I got both. I think I got the CD somewhere, and I had bought the album the day it came out.
yeah,
But it does sound different. You're right. You see, that's what I like about vinyl. It lets the music breathe,
yeah,
especially the old '70s and and 80s stuff
Yeah.
until the late 80s, of course.
Yeah.
But it just lets the music move. Now, my last album is one that is completely off of my genre, but I've been getting into different stuff lately. Her name is Margot Price. This is her fourth album. The name of the album is Strays. Now they got it listed under country. I don't think it's country. It's more of Americana.
Uh-huh.
And when I was reading up on her, they compared her singing to Loretta Lynn or to Tammy Wynette, which both when I listened to her are completely wrong. Um, to me, her music is more earthy and reminds me more of Mary Chapin Carpenter. If you remember her from the early, no, the late '80s, early '90s, and her
Yeah.
music also reminds me of that as well.
Okay.
She's a singer songwriter. This music doesn't sound like today's country at all. It's more of a Americana sound. And every once in a while, I like to delve into something different. So that's why I put her on this list because when I was hearing it, I said, "Man, this is one of those albums that I would enjoy to get away from my head bungeoning or the same old sound." So
Yeah.
Margot Price with Strays is what I
Cool.
came up with. Yeah. So that's all I got for the month of January.
Yeah. So my two, yeah. So out of my list, man, the two really that grab me is the Catatonia and the Riverside. Those are the two that really, like, I'm gonna be like revisiting them a whole lot. I actually want to go out and buy the albums as well, because I'm into it so much. Yeah, it's like, how did I miss these guys, So I'm glad, like, kind of made me seek this out, and so I'd like to get on the shows, whenever you have these. If you can do it once a month, it's
Yeah,
a bit
yeah, I'm
cool.
gonna do it at the on the last Wednesday of every month.
Okay,
Is what I'm gonna start doing. Because
cool.
we need to, we say that we love music. Well, we need to keep up with it.
Yeah,
So, the ones that I'm going to seek out is that Iggy Pop. I think that's a fantastic album,
yeah,
and that Obituary. We both had that on our
yeah,
list.
that too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and also the Bad Ends with Bill Burry.
I definitely want to check that out. I'm gonna pull
Yeah,
that up. Probably pull that up, and when I go to bed, I'll listen to it like in the headphones or something.
and Screamer from Kingmaker. Um, of course, we talked about other albums, but these were the ones that I said, man, this is really neat, and I wanted to share this from YouTube and share it with the messenger group so that everyone else can go ahead and hear these as well. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna seek out the album covers and I'll put them on Black Spinner Circle, even
Okay.
also for Catatonia and for Riverside. I'll find all these albums that we mentioned and
Yeah.
put the album covers out there for people to see. So
I'm
that
gonna throw like the YouTube links for the albums up on my site too, to have
oh
people
cool.
check them out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this is awesome, Andy. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining me, man, because this was
Yeah, man.
always fun when people can talk about it. So we are going to have this. It's the segment is called "Check It Out." I was trying to think of a title for the show, and that I just think that's perfect. So we'll be doing this on the last Wednesday of every month, and then
Cool.
of course when we do our best of the year at the end of the year, well, we will already have these written down. We'll already have these listened to throughout the year. So we'll see if these albums make it at the end of the year. So thanks
I
a lot
think
for joining me, Al.
yes, and you have a great night. And
Yeah,
I hear the rain is really falling again over here in New Jersey. So
yeah,
um,
yeah.
I mean, actually, when the rain is falling, I might even pop in like a nice ambient album, and it kind of helps me sleep. So, but
Good, yeah.
Riverside and Catatonia have like kind of these ambient elements to them they're not like all balls out like prog metal. Especially Riverside, man. It's got some Peter Gabriel. It's got some Tangerine Dream, and that's like very ambient kind of stuff, man. Marillion, another influencer there. So, yeah, this is gonna be a nice night to probably listen to that album again. So,
yeah, I'm gonna check that stuff out. And next week on Black Spinner Circle podcast, we're gonna have Sean Benfield as our guest. He's a country artist, and we are going to be talking to him about his latest album and also about his influences. So check that out. And also, next week on the BS Sessions with Martin, Jerry, and Charles, we're going to do a vinyl battle with them. They're going to do the Cars debut album against Candy-O, which I hate to admit it, but I've never heard Candy-O in my life.
Come on, man.
No, I never have. I've never heard Candy-O. I know I went to the song list. Of course, there's some songs I know, but I've never heard the deep tracks or the album as a whole.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. It's gonna be hard to beat the debut, but the Candy-O is a very strong album too. So it'll be interesting to see how the two stack up track by track. So
I'm gonna check that. So I gotta check that out and make my notes for Candy-O. So I've seen the album cover and I'm familiar with it. Of course I am, but I've just never heard it. That's odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's coming on. So I will see you later, Al. Thanks for joining me. And everybody out there, remember there's new music out there. We are going to go ahead and at our respective Facebook pages, me, a Black Spinner Circle, and Al, of course, being at Be Cool or Be Podcast Out, we will post these so that'll be easier and more accessible for y'all. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Andy. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, Al.
Cheers.
See ya.